In today's video, I take the world's longest flight at some 18 hours and 10,000 miles on Singapore Airlines A350-900 ultra-long-range aircraft. I'll show you exactly what it's like to take this unique mammoth route between Singapore and New York, where we cross the international dateline, have 3 meals, none of which are breakfast, and see the sun for 16 of the 18 hours. I'll share my tips on how I survived its impact on my body clock, and I'll let you know exactly what I thought of this flight, which has been on my bucket list for some time. We're off to New York JFK. Enjoy the video. So here we are, good morning from Delhi, India, and right now I'm about to start my epic 24-hour odyssey across to Singapore and then to New York. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a beautiful 787-10 for this first leg. In this video, I'll be pointing out 7 tips that made my experience taking the world's longest flight achievable, memorable, and survivable. The first is to do your research. I'm starting my ticket in India for one simple reason. It's a lot cheaper. My ticket cost me just over £1,400, but taking the Singapore to New York leg alone would have been nearly 3 times the price. And that's because airlines price tickets according to demand, and not what it necessarily costs to transport you. Singapore Airlines use a 787-10 on regional flights like this 5-hour jaunt from India. Incredible, as most airlines use this aircraft for long-haul routes of 10 hours or more. The seats inside are similar to the ones Turkish Airlines use on their long-haul 787s. I'm not the biggest fan, as the window seats have a large wing that obscures a whole window, and I think the seats by the aisle, like mine, are a much better choice. Today's flight to Singapore leaves at 9 AM and is technically a breakfast flight, but I've got other ideas. So I've just shown you the menu there, but something you might not know is Singapore Airlines offers an off-menu meal service called Book the Cook. So you place your order online and they'll actually load the meal onto the aircraft. By the time I'm eating, it's already 1 PM in Singapore. One way to get your body adjusted to the new time zones is to eat for the time zone you're aiming for, and I'd ordered this delicious mutton biryani. That's lunch for me. I spent much of the remainder of the flight working, and yes, I do often write video scripts on flights, even when I'm full of excitement about the next incredible flight I'm about to take. Really good flight from Singapore Airlines today, only about 5 hours, but it's flown by, if you'll pardon the pun. Anyway, we're on our way down into Singapore now. I've got a feeling that tomorrow's flight might not seem as short, but I'm looking forward to a nice 19-hour layover and a transit hotel in Changi Airport. Well, that was fun. Now on to the next bit. Changi Airport in Singapore is a real traveller's playground and my favourite in the world. At some point I actually plan on spending a full 24 hours here and fill my time, from going to the stunning Jewel complex, taking a city tour, or even just chilling in what has to be the world's only butterfly farm airside at an airport. What a place. However, this is about the limit to my airside relaxation. I am heading to a transit hotel because I've got an overnight connection which I've booked before the world's longest flight. I tell you what, I'm just about ready for that transit hotel. Whew. Changi Airport is one of the most beautiful airports in the world. In places, have you ever noticed how weird the carpets are here? They're definitely an acquired taste. I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Airalo. If you're like me, you're absolutely tied to your mobile phone, and getting worldwide coverage for me is a must, while avoiding my network's hideous roaming charges. Airalo is an amazing eSIM provider which provides data in over 200 countries and regions, including the 3 in this video: India, Singapore and the USA. Aeralo's eSIMs are completely digital. That means there's no physical SIM card. There's no need to have anything posted to you, no packaging, no faffing around on arrival trying to find a physical SIM card, and it's already trusted worldwide by over 10 million people, including me. I have been using Airalo for over a year before they even contacted me. It's really easy to use and install one of their eSIMs. I get to track exactly how much data I've used on the fly, and you can install it before you even arrive into a country, meaning as soon as you land, you're connected. Of course, you get to keep your own number, so staying in touch with everybody back home is really easy by text message, and you can use the data to get an Uber, order food, or even check up on how delayed your flight is. Get Airalo now and stay connected abroad for less. Download the app and use my code PAUL3 for $3 off your data plan. My second big tip is to go for that overnight connection. You'll feel a lot better for it if you are connecting through Singapore, and you'll be a lot more rested and ready to fight the day ahead. Well, here we go. That's not bad for 12 hours, eh? No window though. I guess I'll live. Right, let's get unpacked. Now, this place at the Aerotel was expensive, about £170 or $215 for a 12-hour overnight, but I didn't have to leave the airport. Even though Singapore's a great city and very easy to get around in, there really is a huge value placed on the convenience of being able to walk out of your hotel and straight into the airport lounge ready for your flight tomorrow. Oh, I do have a view. A small one, but it is of the apron. My room rate actually includes a meal, and if you phone up in half an hour, they'll have a hot meal ready and waiting for you at the dining area just a few moments away down the corridor. Top tip here, you should dress for comfort. I've gone for slip-on shoes, comfortable trousers and a plain polo shirt. Don't be tempted to wear your best clothes, as quite often they aren't the most comfortable. So good morning, it's 8 AM and I feel like a proper human being after that sleep. Got about 4 hours until departure. I need to pick up something from the pharmacy, and then we're going to head to the lounge and hang out there before we board our very long flight to New York today. It's a hot one today. In case you don't know Singapore or why I went straight for the thermostat in my hotel, look how humid it gets. This is my big camera, which steamed up immediately on going outside to the terrace. Phew. Welcome to the Singapore Airlines SilverKris lounge, which is exclusively for business class customers. There's actually a lower class of lounge for economy passengers with frequent flyer benefits. And this place is big. It's got a large refectory with a full buffet, multiple seating and relaxing areas, and even a quiet room dedicated to getting some horizontal rest. Although I'd still take the hotel 10 times out of 10. The lounge, of course, also includes shower suites, not that I need to use a shower this morning. Overall, this is a superb lounge and perfect to spend a couple of hours relaxing with a light breakfast before a flight. Or maybe if you're so inclined to prop up the bar for a few hours. The choice is yours. Heading down now to gate B5 to pick up my flight to New York JFK, the world's longest flight. I'm kind of anxious about the 18 plus hours I've got ahead of me. This very long flight crosses 12 time zones. It's still yesterday in New York City, and that means a few interesting things about Singapore Airlines service on this very long flight. Singapore Airlines use a custom ultra-long-range or ULR version of the A350 that only they operate, and they ordered it because of this insanely long route. Of the 63 A350s the airline has, only 7 are of this ULR variant. There are a couple of major changes the ULR has over a regular 350. First, the interior config is very sparse, just 161 passenger seats with 94 premium economy and 67 business class seats. That's right, there is no economy class on these aircraft. Fewer people, fewer things to carry to support them, and less luggage. There is also extra fuel capacity. Another 6,340 gallons gives it an extra 1,600 nautical miles more range than your off-the-shelf A350-900. All right, the time has finally come. We're off to New York, world's longest flight, over 10,000 flying miles today and 18 hours in the air. Let's go on this beautiful Airbus A350. A quick reminder that if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe. You'll join a community of hundreds of thousands of other trip report enthusiasts exploring the world with me. The A350 ULR has the same business class layout as the other A350s in the Singapore fleet, 1-2-1, but not staggered. Each seat has direct aisle access and is incredibly wide. Wow. This is one huge business class cabin, and I'm right at the back. This is one of my favourite business class seats in the world. Singapore Airlines has been through a lot, but I still think it's a world-class airline, and any flight with them is well worth looking forward to, especially when it's as special as this one. If you do find yourself in the middle and you're flying on your own, don't worry, there is a partition that will pop up between the seats if you so wish. Every seat has a pretty good amount of privacy considering there are no closing door suites on this aircraft. Premium economy is located directly behind my business class cabin and is in a 2-4-2 configuration for most of its length. There are 6 solo seats with no neighbour at the very back of the cabin, or you might want to get these unlimited legroom bulkhead seats. So do you want to know what's really rare about this business class cabin? It's so big, you're actually behind the wing in the last row.
During taxi, takeoff,
Cheers.
and landing. To fasten, bring the 2 ends of the seat belt together.
And here's to the next 10,000 miles. We've departed on time, and it's time to sync watches. New York has just ticked over to today, and it's just gone midnight there. This 12-hour time difference is quite convenient, isn't it? These seats have one flaw which bothers a lot of people. We'll come to that later, but otherwise I think there's very little to complain about. They are extremely comfortable, with plenty of storage, even for your boots. The TV screen tilts downward a little to accommodate your view if you're reclining, and the seat controls are all well placed, and not in areas where you risk accidentally triggering them. The seats also look fantastic. Singapore is a really classy airline. The downside to these seats are the offset Ottoman footrest areas. Many people find those uncomfortable, but I manage fine by putting a pillow into the corner of the seat. The diagonal arrangement also results in a slightly longer sleeping position too. The bulkhead seats are highly coveted because of this. They have a much larger footrest area that also extends in front of the seat, and therefore you don't have to sit diagonally if you don't want to. As you can expect, these are the first ones to be selected, and I wasn't one of the lucky ones. My first drinks order was taken before departure, and I got a gin and tonic. It's just about time to settle in and see what the culinary offer is like on this flight. As well as an extensive drinks list, Singapore makes their food menu available on the in-flight Wi-Fi. With Book the Cook, the first 2 meals can be specially catered. The pre-landing snack cannot be pre-ordered, and you have to order off the menu. Importantly, remember, Book the Cook only includes main courses, so your starters and dessert will be from the in-flight menu, whatever meal you're having on board. Book the Cook is an amazing service, and it categorizes all of your choices by the geographic origin of the dishes. You might not have noticed, but on the first leg I chose an Indian dish, and for the 2 meals I've got on this flight, I've gone for a Singaporean and Japanese dish to coincide with departure from Singapore and our transit over Japan.
One of the preconceptions I had about the service before getting on this flight was that it might take a long time. It's a really big business cabin here on the 350 ULR, and there are a lot of people to serve. So sitting in the last row, I thought it might take forever, but actually they've served the last row first.
The food on Singapore Airlines never fails to impress. The starter of hot smoked salmon salad was followed by a delicious Singapore Airlines special dish, Kok Ki's wonton mee noodle dish with char siu pork. I'm avoiding anything too heavy on this flight, as my strategy is to stay up pretty late to stave off my body clock. We'll see how well that strategy works a bit later. And can we also get a thumbs up for the fact that Singapore Airlines uses a proper dessert trolley to serve its desserts? Wow, what a selection. Business class passengers get complimentary Wi-Fi, a real boon for this 18-hour stint across the Pacific, and very useful for tracking yourself and other traffic on flight radar if you're a geek like me. If you've been very eagle-eyed, you'll have noticed earlier the flight projection map on the in-flight entertainment assumed a route over Russia. That's because it is the shortest route over the North Pole at 9,531 miles. But a combination of avoiding Russian airspace, favourable winds and choice of diversionary airfields means this flight heads over the Pacific towards Alaska, stretching the flying distance to over 10,000 miles. As far as entertainment goes, Singapore provides great noise-cancelling headphones, and there is a real slew of content on the entertainment console. Even at 18 hours long, this flight will probably not see you exhaust everything you'd want to watch, although I still don't get how even in 2024, every single airline somehow has Big Bang Theory on their entertainment schedule. But each into their own, it's not like I was watching anything recently made either.
It's just hit home just how insanely long this flight is. I've had my lunch already, which was delicious. Watched 3 episodes of The Office, fell asleep, had a nap for half an hour to tide me over to my proper sleep. I've woken up and there's still 14 hours to go. 14 hours until we get to our destination, and that's longer than any flight I've ever been on before. It's just insane.
Singapore Airlines is relatively unusual in that it doesn't issue amenity kits to passengers, even in business class. Instead, toiletries are located in the bathrooms, like razors, shaving cream, toothbrush and wet wipe napkins. This eliminates a lot of waste because I've got no idea how many old unused amenity kits I've got clogging up my wardrobe at home. But let me know what you think of that policy in the comments below. This flight might be 18 hours long, but only about an hour of it is in full darkness thanks to our latitude and the way we skirt the nightfall at such northern reaches. I do recommend you regulate when you look at the sun. It'll remind your body that you're supposed to still be awake, and be sure to enforce darkness on yourself when you want to sleep. As an aside, isn't in-flight Wi-Fi just absolutely magic? By chance, I picked up this Boeing 787-8 of Zip Air heading towards Bangkok. And if you're interested in that Japanese budget airline, I've got a video review of them on the channel, the link in the description below. But for now, we're back on board Singapore Airlines, and it's time to get a snack. The coffee on board is fantastic, and the crew were really happy to bring me one of the old fruit desserts, a spare one left over from the first meal service, which you'll have seen on the dessert trolley. Here's one thing I definitely found surprising when researching this flight. Singapore Airlines doesn't provide any pyjamas at all on any of its flights, not even this one, so I definitely recommend bringing your own pyjamas. Don't be tempted to sleep in your clothes. You will feel a lot fresher and a lot more human for it, I promise. I did spot quite a few people who seemed perfectly happy sleeping in their clothes, and I just couldn't do it.
If you're ever lucky enough to fly Singapore Airlines in business class, you have to order one of these. It's a Singapore sling, it's over 100 years old, and it's a bit of a Singapore institution. And the best bit is, it's delicious.
We're now approaching the main meal service, and an amuse-bouche of chicken satay is served. We're now approaching the international date line. I don't get to cross it very often, and it definitely feels like an event. And for me, it's time to set a timer. I want to be awake in 6 hours. That, by the way, is the length of the average JFK to London flight, so we've still got quite a long way to go. It's well worth remarking on just how good the service was on board. The catering service is incredibly complicated. There are so many choices to choose from, and of course there are about 50 book the cook options, and they're all prepared in small galleys like these. I am blown away by just how organised the service was on board, and on top of that, the presentation and taste of the food was absolutely first class. Some of the best food I've ever had in business class at 40,000 feet. This unagi donburi came with a small amount of wasabi to sprinkle over the top to give the dish a bit of extra kick, and the mascarpone cream cake was absolutely fantastic. However, one more tip for you. I'm afraid if you want a good night's sleep and not to be too jet lagged, you shouldn't drink too much. Sorry, but it's true.
Good night, or perhaps good morning.
I wake up in time to try the fishball soup, which is the pre-landing snack served on Singapore Airlines route to JFK. This was absolutely delicious, and to be fair, I really did need the coffee to give me a good kick up the backside. It's been a very long flight.
So good morning, or perhaps good afternoon. We are just over the American-Canadian border between Michigan and Ontario. We've got about an hour and a half still to run. I've got myself a little snack in front of me, and I've been very comfortable on this flight. We are now at 16 hours in, and it really does not feel like 16 hours, especially after that sleep I've just had. The real test, of course, is how I feel tomorrow, and I'll let you know in the conclusions how this flight has affected my body clock. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the last 90 minutes of this epic flight.
This is the longest flight in the world, and I've just about got through it thanks to some incredible service, a wonderful seat and bed on board Singapore Airlines, and a bit of research and forethought. We're now descending into New York JFK. And here we are, over 10,000 miles and 18 hours on American soil, and a big tick in the box for me. This was one incredible flight, and one worthy of any AvGeek's attention if you can spare the time and money. Remember those top tips of mine, and maybe you'll think of incorporating them if you take this flight yourself. Do your research, build in an overnight connection, dress for comfort, think about your meal times and time zones. Don't drink too much alcohol, but still have fun. Use the sun to help you stay awake or sleep as you need, and bring your own pyjamas. And if you've got any tips of your own for long-haul flying, please leave them in the comments below. And if you want to know how I got on in New York, well, I was asleep by midnight and up at 6 AM the next day, so I like to think my strategy worked. But as for now, it's time for me to say goodbye, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for sticking with this one, and it's bye for now.